Think about it. What if something exists, simply because it always has? No creator, no origin, just an infinite loop of existence. In Dark, we see this play out with the stranger giving Jonas a time machine that he later builds himself. But here's the problem. Who actually invented it first? That's the Bootstrap Paradox, a time loop with no beginning, no end, and no logical explanation. And trust me, once you start thinking about it, you'll never see time the same way again. What is the Bootstrap Paradox? Imagine you find an old book filled with groundbreaking scientific discoveries. You study it, memorize every formula, and years later, you publish the same book. But here's the twist. Where did the original knowledge come from? Who actually wrote it first? This mind-bending scenario is the essence of the Bootstrap Paradox, a time loop where information or objects seem to exist without ever having been created. The Bootstrap Paradox is one of the strangest puzzles in time travel theories. Unlike the Grandfather Paradox, which questions whether you could erase your own existence by changing the past, this paradox doesn't break time. It bends it in a way that challenges our entire understanding of cause and effect. It's a loop with no clear beginning, no point of origin, and no logical creator. Everything exists simply because it always has. But does that mean it ever truly existed at all? Think about it. What if a scientist from the future goes back in time and teaches Einstein about relativity? Einstein then grows up, develops the theory, and the future scientist learns it from Einstein's published work before traveling back again. Who originally came up with the idea? If the information has no starting point, does that mean it's been borrowed from nowhere? This paradox is not just a thought experiment, it has been a major inspiration in science fiction, philosophy, and theoretical physics. The concept forces us to question everything we know about time, existence, and reality itself. If something can exist without being created, does that mean the past, present, and future are already written? Or is time more flexible than we ever imagined? The Bootstrap Paradox isn't just about time travel, it's a riddle that teases the very limits of human comprehension. And if we ever unlock the secrets of time manipulation, we might find that reality is much stranger than fiction. Bootstrap in fictions. Science fiction has been playing with the Bootstrap Paradox for decades, crafting mind-bending stories that leave us questioning everything. Let's start with a simple yet mind-twisting example: a musician who learns to play a song from an old recording. Years later, he records the same song, and that recording becomes the very one he learned from. So, who originally composed it? If you can't answer that, congratulations, you've just encountered a Bootstrap Paradox. One of the most famous examples comes from Doctor Who. The Doctor explains the paradox using Beethoven. Imagine you go back in time to meet Beethoven but find out he never existed. Shocked, you publish all of his compositions from memory, becoming Beethoven yourself. But if you only knew his music because of the future, and the future only knew it because of you, where did the music actually come from? Then there's the Terminator, where Skynet sends a killer robot back in time to eliminate John Connor before he can lead the human resistance. But here's the twist. The remnants of the destroyed Terminator become the foundation for Skynet's creation. That means Skynet was never invented. It just always existed because of a time loop. Christopher Nolan's Tenet plays with this paradox on a deeper level. Characters manipulate time by passing information and objects back and forth, making it impossible to determine an original source. A character gives instructions for a mission that will save the world, but those instructions only exist because they were received from the future. No origin, no beginning, just an infinite loop of cause and effect. And let's not forget the Harry Potter series, where Harry receives the invisibility cloak from Dumbledore, which was passed down through generations. But what if someone had traveled through time and placed the cloak in the past for Harry to receive? That would create an object with no true origin, forever cycling through time. These stories don't just entertain us, they make us question how time really works. If something exists only because it always has, does it truly exist? Or are we all just characters trapped in a story that has already been written? Theoretical implications. Time travel isn't just a wild fantasy, it's something physicists seriously consider. And the Bootstrap Paradox is one of its strangest implications. If an object, an idea, or even a person loops through time without an origin, does that mean it was never truly created? Can information exist without a source? This paradox breaks the very thing we rely on, cause and effect. In our everyday world, everything follows a logical sequence. You wake up, you get dressed, you go about your day, one event causes the next. But the Bootstrap Paradox throws all of that out the window. Imagine a scientist who builds a time machine after reading blueprints found in a mysterious box. Years later, he travels back in time and leaves the same blueprints in that very box for his younger self to find. Who originally designed the machine? The answer? No one. The information just exists, trapped in a self-sustaining time loop. This idea isn't just a sci-fi gimmick. Quantum physics suggests that time might not be as linear as we think. Some theories propose that the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, and what we perceive as time moving forward is just our limited way of experiencing reality. If that's true, then the Bootstrap Paradox isn't just possible. It might be how reality actually works. The paradox also raises an unsettling question. Can we ever truly create something original? If ideas, inventions, or knowledge can theoretically be passed through time without a real origin, does that mean the future has already happened? If so, is free will just an illusion, and are we simply following a script that has already been written? Some scientists believe that the paradox suggests a predetermined universe, where everything, including every thought, every action, and every discovery, was always meant to happen. Others argue that reality would prevent these loops, maybe through quantum randomness or some undiscovered principle of time. But until we truly understand time, the Bootstrap Paradox remains one of the greatest mysteries of the universe. Related paradoxes. The Bootstrap Paradox isn't the only mind-melting mystery in time travel. It's just one piece of a much larger puzzle that challenges everything we know about cause and effect. If you think an object existing without an origin is weird, wait until you hear about these other paradoxes that make time itself seem like a cosmic prank. First up, the grandfather paradox, a classic dilemma in time travel. Imagine you go back in time and accidentally prevent your grandfather from meeting your grandmother. That means one thing: you were never born. But if you were never born, then who went back in time to stop them from meeting? Just like that, you've erased your own existence, creating a contradiction that time seemingly can't resolve. Some scientists suggest that time might self-correct to prevent such paradoxes, but if it doesn't, reality itself could break. Then there's the predestination paradox, which is like the Bootstrap Paradox but applies to events instead of objects. Picture this: you have a vision of a tragic accident, so you rush to stop it. In doing so, your actions accidentally cause the very accident you were trying to prevent. The event was always going to happen. Your attempt to change it only ensured it did. This paradox suggests that some things are just inevitable, no matter what we do. The Fermi paradox isn't a time paradox, but it's worth mentioning because it deals with another big mystery. If the universe is so vast, where is everyone? Could time loops or paradoxes be preventing civilizations from developing? Could an advanced species have discovered time travel and accidentally wiped itself from existence? It's a terrifying thought, but one that scientists seriously consider. Lastly, let's talk about the twin paradox. Not quite a contradiction, but a bizarre outcome of Einstein's theory of relativity. If one twin travels near the speed of light and returns to Earth, they'll have aged much less than the twin who stayed behind. This means time isn't fixed, it's flexible, changing depending on speed and gravity. If time itself is this strange, maybe paradoxes aren't impossible at all. Maybe they're just how time really works. Reflection. The Bootstrap Paradox is more than just a weird thought experiment. It's a challenge to everything we believe about time, reality, and even existence itself. If something can exist without ever being created, what does that say about the universe? Are we living in a reality where time isn't a straight line but an infinite loop, constantly feeding itself with knowledge, objects, and events that never had an origin? This paradox forces us to ask a deeper question. Is time truly linear, or are we just perceiving it that way? Imagine if past, present, and future all exist at once, and we're simply moving through them like a needle on a record. What if history isn't written before or after? What if it just is? Some physicists argue that time might be a block, where everything has already happened, and we're just experiencing it in sequence. If that's true, then maybe Bootstrap paradoxes aren't violations of time. Maybe they're just proof that time works differently than we think. But here's the real kicker. If a time loop can create something from nothing, does that mean free will is just an illusion? If knowledge, objects, or even events exist because they always have, does that mean our choices are already predetermined, or do we have the power to break the cycle? The Bootstrap Paradox doesn't just raise questions about time, it makes us rethink the very nature of choice, destiny, and existence. And what if this paradox isn't just fiction? Imagine a future where time travel is possible, and people start sending knowledge back through time. Would we ever be able to tell what ideas were truly original and which ones were borrowed from a future that hasn't even happened yet? If history can be rewritten, would we ever know what the real timeline was? The mystery of time travel remains unsolved, but one thing is certain: the Bootstrap Paradox is a puzzle that refuses to be neatly explained. Maybe the answers are hidden in the future. Maybe they've already been discovered, just waiting for someone to bring them back in time. Or maybe, just maybe, they were never created in the first place. Time travel, paradoxes, and infinite loops. The universe is stranger than we can imagine. The Bootstrap Paradox is just one of many mysteries that challenge everything we know about time. But what if time isn't broken? Just misunderstood? If you love exploring mind-bending concepts like this, subscribe to InnoVision Tech for more deep dives into futuristic science, technology, and the unknown. Hit the like button, drop a comment, and let's keep pushing the boundaries of imagination.